Today, the word that God was putting in my heart is worship God. So, worshiping God is one of the very important things, how much we understand it, how much we know to worship God, how much we know what is worship. You see here, God said, you will worship God on this mountain. Just think about the situation when God spoke to this word. All the Israelites are under bondage. They are under captivity. They are under Egypt. Where is Moses? Moses in another one remote area. No, he doesn't know what is happening in, have no idea. He got literally had no contact. Everything disconnected. He is just in another remote corner. He have no knowledge what is happening in Egypt. He is all alone. But God is telling, He is telling a remote area, some far from the Egypt, one remote area, one mountain He showed and told him, oh, you will worship God on this mountain. This will be the sign. This will be the thing that I am going to do. We know that. It happened. God did it. This is the way God does it. So He says, when the word of God comes, we may think, oh, what it is? Is it possible? Can it work out? No, never. We can immediately say, never. Whenever God utters a word, that is a problem with us. When God says, we could not agree with Him because it is an impossibility. It is not what we can make it to happen, but what God can do it. God will do it. It may look impossible, so when we get something, some inspiration inside us, we should have the faith to believe. Otherwise, we cannot even, we will ignore the God speaking to us. So here, another thing now, this word, who told this word? Do you understand this? Who told this word? Who? Huh? Satan. To whom he is saying? Jesus, God. And what he is saying? Worship me. Worship me. You see, what? Somebody is there to steal the worship. That we have to be very careful about it. Somebody is always come to a place and say, worship me. So he is always trying to get the worship. How bold. How, no? He came to even Jesus. He is God and coming to him and say to him, worship me. And what the reply, Jesus said, let it open our eyes. Let it open our eyes. He said, Be gone, Satan. Go behind Satan. For it is written, Ye shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Worship the Lord and him only. So, worship belongs only to God and God only. We have to be very clear about it. So, many do not have this thing. They can come like that, we can come. We are worshipping God. That we should be embedded into our mind. When we come to this place, we have that seriousness in the heart. We cannot think as we like, we can come. As like that, the tendency we should not have, but we should have we are coming to worship the Lord. You see, how many people died because they said they are worshipping God. Just think about it. They lost, many died as martyrs because they said they are worshipping Satan. The world is trying to avoid, they cannot tolerate the idea of worshipping God. But God is very clear. Worship God and him only. So, now many people, even though in communist countries, in Saudi Arabia countries, so many things legally that is closed. But in spite of it, people worship. Worship. They go, gather and worship. There are many people are being put in prison, tortured. Many things happen. In spite of that, they worship. So, child of God, here we enjoy such a freedom. No? We can come boldly at any time worship. Nobody is going to stop us. But this freedom is not going to be forever. If we are, there's one day is going to come. All the people, if you are not worshipping, you will be left behind in this world. Antichrist is going to come. If you don't worship, you are going to be tortured and killed. At that time, it's not going to be that easy. Unless you die as a martyr, you cannot go to heaven. So this time, when there is a freedom, don't sit at home. I tell you, this is not the time. No, after COVID, many start we can worship even at the sitting at home, we can worship. Yeah, if there is a problem, a real thing, it's okay. But not every day. As much as possible, I invite everyone, don't give excuses, but come to the place of God and worship God. This is a privilege we enjoy. God has given so many people. It is really, the people, like our worship team, so many people are behind. They are doing so much of effort at this time to make every one of us worship. Come in time. Come 10 o'clock, don't come 11 o'clock. 10 o'clock, come. Come for the service. Because God is here. The Bible says, that I want to very much emphatically I want to say that. You see here, John 4:23, but the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. Father is seeking such people. Who is demanding worship? Father. Father is seeking such people to worship him. Father, it is not the BLC that put a stipulation. It is the 10 o'clock you have to come. But Father is seeking you to worship. The God the Father, it is the will of the Father. This invitation for you is from the Father. If you want God's presence, when you start worshiping, God is there. When you start singing, God is there. So He is there. He is seeking. He is come here. He is present. So we are not worshiping man. We all together, we come here. What we do? We exalt God. Worship God. You make sacrifice to come and worship. It is not, no. We can just say some excuse. Okay, you can sit at home. But say here, for the Father is seeking such people. It's not the first word I told you. God the Father said, you see, in this mountain, I will make that to happen. God is, here He is telling the hour is coming and is now here. It is what God's doing. We are here. It is not by our will. In all over the world, people are worshipping. This is the fulfillment of this word that Jesus said to that Samaritan woman. So worship. Father is seeking such people to worship. So we are here to worship Him. Even before we come, the Father is here. He is receiving our worship. We are worshiping only to God. We are not worshiping man. Okay? We have to worship, that is good. But what is happening at that time? People were under bondage. And heavy bondage. No? If they say worship, the work will be doubled. And they will be beaten. That happened. No, Egypt was like that. Pharaoh thought he himself is God. But there is a deliverance is needed. Deliverance is needed. So, if we look at it, so God gave one word. Let my people go. This, for the delivering the people, that one word ringed all over Egypt. No one would have missed that word. Let my people go. It's a very powerful word, correct? Let my people go. Let them go. Don't put them under bondage. It's a message to Pharaoh. Don't put them under bondage. Don't. Time has come. You have to leave them. It's a direct word from God. Leave them. But is that sufficient? Let my people go. Let my people delivered. But the word, you see, Exodus 7:16, it says, so that they may worship me. We all know about the first part of the word, but why should Moses go to the king Pharaoh and tell him, he didn't say just let my people go, but what he told? So that they may worship me. So that they worship me. Deliverance is not the end of it. We need deliverance when we are in sickness, when we are in a bondage, when we are going a tough thing going on. We need a deliverance. But deliverance, I tell you now, no, deliverance is not the end of it. Why you are being delivered? Why you need deliverance from the sickness? Why you need the deliverance from your bondage, your tough situation, everything? Ultimately, what should happen is, what should happen? Tell everyone. We should worship Him. So that He has given, put it very God, it is a word that God has given him. Why I should be delivered? Why there should be a healing of my sickness? Why from this dire situation I should be delivered? I may worship Him. God clearly told him, the Lord who said, let my people go. This word was coined by God. Let my people go. He also said, so that they may worship me. They may worship me. So, we should not just say, oh, God gave me in deliverance and I will live as I like. No. Don't think like that. You will not be, you may get deliverance, but that does not fulfill the God's purpose in your life. You not only delivered, you should worship Him. All along in our life, the end goal is to worship Him. You see here, this is not one time, 6 times the same word is being repeated. 7:16, 8:1, 8:20, 9:1. So, every time, whenever Moses goes to the Pharaoh, he should repeat this word, so that they may worship me. So, God said to Moses clearly that He said to him, I am the Lord. Tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything I tell you. Everything I tell you. We have to be very careful. Moses has to be very careful in that. He cannot just, go and speak on his own. So everything, when we speak to the devil, we have to be very careful. What God puts in our thing, we cannot just off the word we hear, and we cannot use the off the word to defeat devil. But we have to be full. We have to have a full word, whatever, everything I tell you. That's what. Now, everything I tell you, you speak. Whatever God says, we should not leave anything. He said to him, see, liberation is not the end. That I already told you. Research says 37% of the prisoners who were liberated were imprisoned back within 3 years of them walking out of the prison. This is a statistics. It happens. We see the people came out of the jail. They continue. Even after many years in prison, when they are out, they go back and do the same crime. So this applies to even the spiritual world. When you are delivered, so Satan will not leave. You see here, in Luke 11:24-26, When an evil spirit comes out of a man, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, I will return to the house I left. When it arrives, it finds the house swept clean and put in order. Then it goes and takes 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. And the final condition of that man is worse than the first. So it is not a, you see, it is empty. It doesn't say it is dirty or something, but it says when it says, finds the house swept clean and put in order, then it goes. When finds empty, it goes and finds 7 more spirit, and the final condition of the man is worse than first. So it is, I tell you, it is deliverance, is liberation is not the end, but we have to make sure people worship God. That brings a complete deliverance. So that should be made. Make sure, no, just giving deliverance is not sufficient, but they should worship God. There comes another thing. God said, when He said celebration, let my people go. Can anyone please read Exodus 5:1? So that they may hold the festival to me in the desert. To celebrate me in the desert, in the wilderness. That is what God said. Yes. When God delivered, when the deliverance comes, no, it's a time of rejoicing. It's a kind of celebration. You see here, Exodus 15:20-21, the Miriam, the prophetess, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her with tambourines and dancings. Miriam sang to them, sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has hurled into the sea. You see here, really what God did, then 10 plagues. God sent 10 plagues. It's not an easy thing. Not for the deliverance, we know. I don't want to repeat time on that, but you see here, the deliverance is true. Whatever God promised, I will bring you from under the yoke of the Egyptians. You see, God says, I will do. I will. I will free you from being slaves to them. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment. I will tell. You see here, I will, everything God has fulfilled. It looked an impossibility. People even thought that it cannot happen. They didn't hear even when he said, God told him all these promises, people could refuse to hear. Because they were situation was totally different. But God did it. They praised God. So it happened. So in the desert, there was one chapter is devoted just praising God. Miriam, everyone in the wilderness. Can it happen? It happened. The Lord did it. Yeah. So we have to celebrate because this is about the prodigal son. So when he returned, the father says, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again, he was lost, is found. We have to celebrate. So we rejoice that our names are written in the heaven. We have to rejoice because our names are written in heaven. That is a thing, no? We have to rejoice. That we should not. There are so many things happen only for the events or only thing, but ultimately, no, our names are written in heaven. Then, fellowship. So, you see here, it's a very important thing. I will take you as my people and I will be your God. So what God is not just going to liberate and leave you and give a deliverance and give a miracle, but one thing happens. He takes us as my own people. We are no more in the world. We are identified as God's people. When God delivers, what happens? We become one body. In the New Testament also, we see that we became one body. It's a beautiful thing God did in Egypt. God delivered them as not one of them left behind. God delivered all of them. The way that Lord worked out that deliverance is so wonderful. Okay? We want to worship, and there was a negotiation that was going on between Pharaoh and Moses. He said, no, why don't you just stay in the land? Even you can worship. So first, no worship, but now he said, oh, you can just worship in the land. But he's saying, no, we must take a 3-day journey into the desert to offer sacrifice to the Lord as he commands us. We have to take a journey. And again he said, you must not go very far. Okay, go, but don't go very far. And another thing, only men can go. Children and other thing, leave it. Just only men go and worship. So, I was wondering, that Moses, today we are all worried about our kids, how will be preserved. But Moses, even 3rd month, 3 months only as a child, they were with parents. So after that, he was in the palace, in the Egyptian, totally in the control of the mother or the family, have no control over it. But how he had the faith? When he came to years, he refused. He chose something. Where from that came? That to the mother, there is a small window of opportunity was given. So she was hired and she had to go and bring up the child in the palace as a hired servant. But this family, this mother, in a small window, that she put the faith, built the faith in the child. Whatever, don't think that our kids will be, we can do everything as we think. But we have to put the faith into when we are given. The small window God has given to us. We cannot take everything. But in that time, usefully, just put the faith into the child. I love this family, Moses. 3 months. Every time soldiers could have come and grabbed the child and put into the waters or killed before their eyes. But how they would have feared and prayed, a family of prayer. By faith, our children should know our faith. Our children should see the faith. Even the child was born, there was faith in the family. Even when the child was in Egypt, there was faith in the family, in the mother. She would have taught her child the faith. She has learned something, even though he was educated in Pharaoh, in Egypt, and so many things. The mother had no control at all. But she was preserved. He was preserved. He had that faith in him that was growing. So, you see here, it is not that men alone, we have to take along our kids. Take along the family. As a family, we have to make sure that we worship the Lord. That is very, very important. So Moses didn't say, okay, men, we can, okay, there's something. He didn't say no. He said no to it. And this is a very strong word. Okay, you children, go. You children, everyone can go, but now all the animals, everything, cattle, you leave it. What? Moses was very firm. Now he said, not a hoof is to be left behind. Not a hoof. It's a very strong word. We are redeemed of the Lord. God is doing a wonderful work, wonderful salvation in our life, one great work in us. Not a hoof should be left behind. We are delivered as a whole, as a family, as everyone. So claim this word like Moses. Not a hoof is to be left behind. And this word also is wonderful. At the end he's saying, until we get there, we'll not know what we are to use to worship the Lord. Until we are there, we will not know what we are going to do, worship. There should be an excitement, people of God. When we come to the presence of God, God is involved. We should be excited. We should have the expectation, what God will do for me today. How God will work in my life. How God will do a miracle in my life. Every day, come with the expectation to the presence of God when we worship. We don't know how we are worshiping. The Lord should, even the worship, the graces, God should provide. We cannot, because we worshiped last week, I can do the worship. No. Until we get there, until we come to the presence of God, until we hear from God, we don't know how we are going to worship Him. Let us all have every day, let us come as a worship team or as a church. Let us be having a different, new things. Let us expect from the Lord. Let the Lord lead us in a new way to worship Him, because He is the provider. He gives us a grace. He gives us a new thing. He can do mighty things. Let us come with the expectation. Even when we come to the presence of God, come with the prayer. Even when we start Sunday morning, don't be in bed. Ask the Lord, Lord, speak to me. Lord, give me your word. How I should worship you, Lord, today. You have blessed me. I want to worship you in a new way. So let us come with the prayer to worship the Lord. Last thing. God has delivered, liberated. God has brought us as a one body. We are all one body. We have come together. So, one of the things, when just being together, how long we can be together? we need a minister. Everyone need to be ministered to. Correct? We cannot be just come. For some time we can be together, but something has to happen. Ministry is that. No, God is working. God has a great plan for the ministry. We have to understand carefully this place. How God works out. Even in the New Testament, God has offices. God has a pattern. How it works in the church. There's so much we have to learn. So much that God has to do. So much the church has to be built up. Everyone has to be built up. There's so much that we have to go forward. So let me see. Let me tell about Moses. You see, first starting point, deliverance happened, and the church, the whole thing has to be led. How God works. Let me tell you, just carefully listen to it. God appeared to Moses and told him, no, I am who I am. This word, carefully understand it. What is it? I am. In between who? So, I am so and so, we can say. Today, no, in the world, no, I am a manager, I am a president, I am so many things, no, but for God, there is no comparison. I am can be compared only to I am. I am cannot be compared with anything else. He is the ultimate. And God said, no. You see here, how they will believe, who has sent me? I am has sent me to you. What God is now, that how God speaks to Moses, I am has sent me to you. So, you see here, the Lord is sending. It is not man. God is preparing his own man to send. How Moses was sent? Okay. Just listen to this word. Moses, God has chosen Moses, and God is speaking to Moses and asking him to go. But this word, just observe carefully. O Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. You see here, carefully, even at the time, he was not eloquent. He was slow of speech and tongue. He expected, after God spoke to him, he will be eloquent. But he finds himself, he is still not eloquent. He is not, still, God, he is stammering, God has not touched his lips. If he is given immediately, oh, I'm going to give you a tongue, you will be very eloquent, means that's all. He would have been very surprised. But he was still not eloquent. But God said, then the Lord said unto him, who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now, therefore go. I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak. I shall teach you what you shall speak. You see here, God didn't made him in one day an eloquent man to speak. But what God said? That's very clear. Even before, also, even after God spoke to him also, you see, who has made man's mouth? He could have just done in a moment, but he didn't do it. He was not eloquent even then. And one thing I love in this verse is, I will be with your mouth. Do you want to be eloquent? Or God wants to be in your mouth? Which one you take today? People today wants to be eloquent, but I don't want to be eloquent. I want God to be in my mouth. How many of you want that in your life? Lord, it is not easy. It is not easy, brothers and sisters. Church, it is not easy. God to be in your mouth. God to be in your mouth. It's not at all easy. Not at all easy. You yield your mouth to God to work in our life. Don't avoid loose talks. Avoid any bad thing come out of your mouth. Be very careful. My mouth should be used by my God for His glory. I should speak His praises. Every word that come out from my mouth should be for your glory, O child of God. This is a very tough thing to do. But God expected the same. Okay. What happened? Nothing. Okay. You see here, another thing is God is telling, oh, this died. Oh. You see, God knows. You see, God didn't say, oh, Moses, what you are lying to me. You are an eloquent man. You are not slow to speak. Are you lying to me? God didn't tell him. He said, he accepted it. Moses, you are slow in tongue. You are stammering maybe. But everything God accepted, but he said, is there not Aaron, your brother the Levite? I know that he can speak well. God says, I know he can speak well. Church is a place, no? If there is a vacuum, if there is God in that way, God is not make you a giant. Just think about it. You make everything, you become very strong, you will become like Putin. God doesn't want to bring Putins into the church. So, He wants to move, otherwise we will make a chaos in the church. So, we have to have our mouth to be controlled, and God should speak through our mouth. So we have to wait in the presence of God. We should know how to wait in the presence of God. Stay in the presence of God. Get the word. It is not easy. Fasting and praying and bring the word of God. That word has the life. That word, we can be eloquent. We can just get so many things from YouTube, so many things from the web. Google has plenty. But we should know how to wait in the presence of God and cry to God and God to speak. Be in our mouth. We got to speak what God says. It's very difficult thing. It's not easy to wait and receive from God. There the life will flow. There that will bring life, the healing to people. So he said, no, I know that and there also God says, I will be with your mouth and with his mouth also. The thing is, no, it is not we see Aaron was a very eloquent. God himself said he can speak well. Correct. But in happened, no, there is a great difference. If you look at Moses and Aaron, there is a great difference. He is eloquent, he can do, but what happened? He was controlled by the people. Instead of God controlled, he was people controlled. So when Moses was in the mountain, Aaron was there. All the people came to him. We don't know what happened to Moses. We want to something. So what he did, because people all came, he made a golden calf, and because all started worshipping the golden calf instead of worship. You see, the worship can be totally, very easily, it can be diverted. But what he said, but you see here, after that, what happened? Exodus 12:35 to 36. Please read. This is a very important verse. Please, anyone, please read loud. Oh, sorry. Not this. I don't know what happened. This verse is not there. Deuteronomy. Okay. Can anyone? This verse, Deuteronomy 9:18. Can anyone please read? Yeah. You see, people in a moment, they've drifted away and they started worshipping the golden calf. But for that, what Moses did know, I lay prostrate before the Lord as before 40 days and 40 nights. You see how difficult. Can you fast 1 day, 3 days, 5 days? Can you fast? Moses went to the mountain. He fall prostrate for 40 days. He is interceding for the people. What he didn't do, you see here, 40 days in the mountain, he is interceding for the people of God. Many times, sin is so grievous, so grave, we don't know what we are doing. Satan is tempting and trying towards it. But the effect of it affects our family. It affects our church. It affects everything. Aaron, Moses. You see, They prostrate before the Lord as before 40 days and 40 nights. Because, you see here, the because, you note, because of all the sin that you had committed. Why 40 days fasting and prayer? Because not his sin, not anything, because of what the people have done it. You see here, 9:19-20, for I was afraid of the anger and hot displeasure that God bore against you. God is love. But we cannot stand before his anger. We cannot. He knew, because Moses was very close with God. He knew what it is, the anger of God. Hot displeasure of the Lord. So when he knew, when he went near the Lord, he said, I was afraid of the anger and displeasure. But the Lord listened to me that time also. Man of God. He said, I am going to destroy the whole Israelites at this time. But that is the intercession. That is the ministry you and I should do, for plead for others. We have to stand in the gap. That is the standing in the gap. You see here about this. And the Lord was so angry with Aaron that he was ready to destroy him. He was ready to destroy Aaron also at that moment. Think about it. And I prayed for Aaron also at the same time. Church is a place of intercession. Church is a place of prayer. Ministry has to happen. It is not just entertainment. No, you see that the people, today the world wants entertainment and things like that. No, even in the church. No, what people did. Why they wanted the golden calf? They drank and they ate, drank and played. But poor fellow Moses, at the top of the mountain, without any food, without any drink, how many days? 40 days. Just fall prostrate before the presence of God, ministering to God. It is the work of the pastor. It's not easy. It's work of the ministers is not easy, to plead for the people, to stand in the gap. You also can take part in that. So for the church, when we want to have the bigger church, when we want to, the church should grow, but we have to stand. We should know how to stand on our knees and plead for the mercy of God, the people. Just only one slide. I'm going to just leave it. And also, God had a greater plan. Okay. I thought originally, these people, 40 years that wandered here and there, he went. So it's all that what they did is wonderful. If you see that God didn't just kept the people as wanderers. God in the wilderness, that 40 years, God has given them work. Can you think about it? God didn't want people to be idle. Just talking something and going about. They had very great work to be done. The construction of the tabernacle, how to worship. So that if you look at those verses, if you convert to the, it is all written in some other measures, but if you convert, how much gold they had? 1 ton of gold. Silver, 4 tons of silver. How much bronze? They got it? 2.5 tons of bronze. How did they get it in the wilderness? This much of gold, this much of silver, this much of bronze. How they got it? They had worked quite a lot. It's not an easy thing, structure, that God gave the measurement, God gave everything for them to do it. But they did it in the wilderness. A beautiful thing. But how they got it? Whether they got it mined in wilderness, how they got it? Exodus 12:35 to 36. The people of Israel had also done as Moses told them, for they had asked the Egyptians for silver and gold and jewelry and for clothing, and the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. It all, the gold, everything accumulated when? One night. Think about it. Is it not a miracle? Whatever they wanted for the gold, silver and bronze, the people got one night. They plundered the whole of Egypt. They took advantage of the Israelites. They exacted so much of work from them, but on that night, one night, how much gold, how much silver. The people didn't come, when they came out of Egypt, they didn't come empty, but they were filled. God plans for this, His work. The gold belongs to God. And whatever they brought from the Egypt, they liberally donated for the work of God, and the tabernacle was built. So God has a great purpose. God can do. Even though we are working, I always wonder how things are happening. God is putting the vision in different people, and God is working out. It's a work. It's a God's work. It cannot happen. Building committee, it's not one person work. Many are involved in that work. Even when our building project is such a big project, we need money, we need so much. But God, we know, God has a greater plan than what we have. We have to give, that is true. But what we plan is bigger plan, more than what we can think about it. That we have to do it for God. So God can do wonderful things through us, and God can make it. I cannot imagine 1 ton of gold, 2.5 tons of silver. So much. God, such a big thing, God works out here. So worship, don't think is small. Think big. The ministry that God has given to us is big. It is not small. We all should be involved and make it to happen. We have to plan. We have to pray. We have to minister to others. And we should see the miracle of God in our midst. May the Lord in these days make this vision brighter and brighter in our heart, and make us to worship Him more and more. And may we see the glory of God, see the great work of God in our midst at this time.